Picture this. 9,000 years before the first stone of Rome was laid, before Greece, before Egypt's pyramids, before writing, before any history we know. A civilization more powerful, more vast than anything the ancient world ever built, existed. Then, in a single day, in a single catastrophic night, it was gone forever. This is not legend, not myth, not fantasy. This is what ancient records actually say. Egyptian priests, the most learned scholars of the ancient world, preserved this account for millennia. Who were the people of Atlantis? Where did they build? Why did they vanish? And what geological force or human catastrophe erased an entire empire from human memory? Tonight, we follow the actual evidence, not the myths, what the records genuinely say. If you love hidden history and the untold truths beneath our feet, subscribe now. Chapter 1. Plato's source, the Egyptian priests. The year is 360 BCE. In Athens, Plato is writing two extraordinary philosophical dialogues, the Timaeus, the Critias. Inside them, he records a story that would haunt the world. Plato's ancestor, the Athenian statesman Solon, had traveled to Egypt around 590 BCE. In the sacred temple city of Sais, he sat with Egypt's most learned high priests. The priests told him, "You Greeks are children. You remember only one flood. We remember dozens, including one catastrophe that destroyed an empire you have never heard of." That empire, the priests said, had risen in the ocean beyond the Pillars of Hercules. The Pillars of Hercules, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar, the Atlantic beyond. It conquered vast territories, built cities of breathtaking scale, then sank 9,000 years before Solon. Plato described it precisely, concentric rings of land and water surrounding a central royal island. A palace plated in orichalcum, a metal that blazed like living fire in sunlight. Advanced agriculture, canal systems, a royal navy, specific architectural measurements. This is not vague mythology. Was Plato inventing a parable or faithfully transcribing Egypt's memory of a real catastrophe? Fictional allegories do not include floor plans. They do not specify precise measurements and metal alloys. Chapter 2. The Geographic Candidates. If Atlantis was real, where was it? 2,000 years of inquiry gives us 3 candidates. Each is supported by real geology, real archaeology, and fragments of ancient text. Each is incomplete. Candidate 1, Santorini. Around 1620 BCE, a volcanic island in the Aegean detonated. The eruption was 4 times more powerful than Krakatoa. Tsunamis swept the entire Mediterranean basin. The Minoan civilization, the Bronze Age's greatest maritime empire, collapsed almost immediately afterward. Santorini's caldera still shows concentric ring geography. Minoans were dominant sailors. The parallels are undeniable. But Plato places Atlantis beyond Gibraltar, in the Atlantic. Santorini sits inside the Mediterranean. And Plato says 9,000 years before Solon, not 900. To describe, add a 0. Candidate 2, the Azores. Volcanic islands sitting in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. These islands are exposed peaks of a vast submerged plateau, the Azores Plateau. Modern bathymetric mapping confirms it stood far above sea level before the last ice age ended. Could rising seas, not a single disaster, but a slow millennium of flooding, have swallowed it? Candidate 3 is the most controversial, most dismissed, and yet it refuses to die. Antarctica. In 1513, an Ottoman admiral named Piri Reis created a map of the world. That map showed Antarctica's coastline, accurately 300 years before its official discovery. It showed Antarctica without its ice sheet, as it appeared 13,000 years ago. Ice cores confirm Antarctica was significantly warmer during the last interglacial. Coastal regions were temperate. Charles Hapgood's Earth crust displacement theory was intriguing enough that Albert Einstein himself wrote about it. Chapter 3. What the hard evidence actually says. Here is what hard science confirms. 12,000 years ago, sea levels were rising catastrophically fast, sometimes meters per century. Entire coastal civilizations were drowned. We are only now beginning to find them. In India's Gulf of Cambay, sonar surveys revealed a submerged city 9 kilometers long beneath the water. Streets, buildings, infrastructure, submerged for at least 10,000 years before any known Indian civilization existed. Off Yucatan, underwater caves hold human bones over 12,000 years old, now 10 meters submerged. The ocean has swallowed our entire prehistoric past. What lies beneath is almost entirely unexplored. And then there is Göbekli Tepe, discovered in Turkey in 1994. It shattered everything. A stone complex, 11,600 years old, built by people we assumed incapable of organized construction. Göbekli Tepe did not emerge from nothing. Someone taught those builders. Something greater must have preceded them. 12,900 years ago, a cosmic event triggered a 1,000-year winter, the Younger Dryas. Mass extinctions, global flooding, civilizational collapse, preserved in flood myths on every continent without exception. The Sumerians remembered it, the Hindus, the Norse, the Maya, the Aboriginal Australians, every civilization, without exception. Plato's account is not an outlier. It is the most detailed version of a universal memory. Was Atlantis Santorini? The Azores? Antarctica? A lost plateau now resting beneath the cold Atlantic floor? The honest answer, the scientifically honest answer, is that we haven't looked hard enough yet. Plato was precise. He cited his source. He gave measurements. He described an entire civilization's architecture. Geology confirms sea levels rose catastrophically. Civilizations were drowned at exactly the time he described. Every year, new sonar technology and underwater archaeology bring us closer to the truth beneath the waves. What if the greatest discovery in human history is not in a jungle, but underwater? What happens to everything we think we know when we finally find it? Smash that like button. Subscribe His2DO for more history.